and welcome back to Indiana June's World of Adventures. I'm Buzz.
I'm June.
And in this episode, we are going to be exploring Yugoslavia.
Yes.
And for those people that may or may not know, Yugoslavia doesn't actually exist anymore. Yugoslavia was a country in Southeast Europe and Central Europe for most of the 20th century, and it came into existence after World War I in 1918 under the name of the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. But that broke up after the Yugoslavian wars, I believe, in the early 90s. And June, you decided to go right on the cusp of before the actual country went
to war.
Yes. So let's start right at the very beginning. For a holiday destination, why did you choose Yugoslavia?
Well, I was reading the local newspaper and there was a holiday advertised going to Yugoslavia, which I'd never thought about going to.
So you knew nothing about it?
I knew nothing about it. I read as much as I could, but there were rumblings of war at the time. So I did ring the Foreign Office and they said, you can go, but be careful.
All right, so they gave you the thumbs up.
And I got picked up in Adeyfield, where I lived,
on
a coach.
Right, so this was a coach trip.
It was a coach trip.
And had you done these before?
I've never been on an overnight coach trip.
Right, so you're actually going on a coach from where you used to live, Hemel Hempstead, in Hertfordshire, all the way across to Yugoslavia.
Yes, you had to go across the sea to France.
So was that ferry or was that via the tunnel?
Oh, the tunnel hadn't been invented then. No. We had to go on a ferry and land in France, and then I'm not sure if it was Austria or Germany we went through first, and then carried on, or possibly Germany, then Austria. And we didn't have a full coach. We had two drivers with us, and we got told there is a toilet on board.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, I would think so if it's an overnight.
Well, you never know. I mean, I didn't know. But only for rain, not thunder.
Sorry, what was that again?
Yeah.
So you're on a coach.
Yeah.
The coach does have a toilet on board.
Yes.
You're doing an overnight coach journey all the way to Yugoslavia. I don't have the figures in front of me, so that must be several hundred kilometres to go there.
Well, miles, I knew.
How long would that trip have taken? You say overnight.
Yeah, overnight, and we got there the next late afternoon.
Right, so what, over 24 hours?
Oh, yes.
Right, so you've got an over 24 hours, and you've got this coach that's got a toilet.
Yes.
But you were then told...
Only rain, not thunder.
Only rain, not thunder.
Yes.
Now, I assume...
I had to think about this, but...
right, okay, I've never heard that before, so I assume...
I'd never heard it before either.
So the coach driver said, you can use the toilet, only rain, not thunder. So obviously we're talking about if you needed a number one, that's rain.
Yes.
And obviously that means number two must be thunder.
Yes. Well,
but you weren't allowed to use the toilet?
No.
Oh.
But we did stop every 2 or 3 hours.
I hope so.
Yes, well, that's what. And of course, we didn't have the euro then, so you had to have little bags or purses with French francs and German shillings.
Did you know this before you travelled? You said this was your first coach trip, so was this something you discovered? Or?
Well, we were advised, and that was still when you had, those little vouchers for what do you call them? To get money, you had to go to the hotel.
Oh, you mean like
travellers' checks? That was it. Yes, they're a bit out of date now, but you had to have travellers' checks. But otherwise, you had small change if you managed to get hold of any, to go to get something to eat or do that. And luckily, the coach wasn't full up, so you could have a seat to yourself.
Right.
And
that's a long time to be sat on a coach.
It isn't. Well, I found out, but I have since done it about 18 times. I'm used to it.
All coach trips? 18
really,
times?
Well, except when I went to China and Japan and those places. But I have been back nearly 18 times to different places in Croatia. So we had to go off and stop here and stop there. You weren't sure what sort of food or what sort of toilet you were going to find. And make friends with people on board and go through the night and the lights would come on and say, now you're in
So,
Germany, or you're in, and if you go down there and up those stairs, you will find a cafe and toilets, and be back in 20 minutes.
all right, so you only had a very short time.
Well, we didn't have very long there.
So how did you find that? That's quite a heavy journey, surely, just to be on a coach, literally for 24 hours.
Well, it was, my family don't say I go on holidays, they say I go on adventures.
You certainly do. So did you get to actually experience some of the countryside that you went through? Did you, because I'm imagining
well,
it's
we
going to be...
started off early in the morning,
which is
went
gonna be
across
dark.
the
Yep.
channel,
So
and
ferry across to France.
and then through Germany and Austria. But of course,
So when you got to Austria, did you get the chance to see any of the Austrian Alps or anything through the coach?
Not as it got darker. You just travelled in the
Right.
dark. You didn't know where you were going.
Right, so that must be quite...
Yeah, until you in the morning you woke up and you wondered where you were. But you could see different sorts of houses and different things. And
So if anybody were to be thinking about doing such a long coach journey to a destination, let's jump in straight away and say, have you got any tips of things? Because that's a long time to keep you entertained. Mind you, I say that these days people have their...
well, they've got lots of technical things to take with them.
You know.
Now you've got a book, but then it's a bit bouncy, or it's dark and the lights all go out, so you can't really read or
not one for
do
somebody,
puzzles.
If you suffer terribly from travel sickness, maybe not the best way to travel.
No. And I say it takes to get a bit of getting used to.
Okay, so this is your first trip.
Yes.
First 24 hours on a coach.
Have a warm coat or something with you, because it does get colder in the night.
Just out of interest, what was it like going through? You must have been going through different checkpoints, I presume, because you say it's before the Euro. I mean,
Yeah.
Did you have...
You had to have your passport ready to go through the different checkpoints.
Jumping forward a few years, I did go on a trip with you.
Yes, you did.
And that was quite straightforward in the sense that we didn't have to stop.
Except when we got to Slovenia.
Yeah, that's right. So, but did you have to stop at the borders every time?
We did
back
the
then?
first time, but that was in the 90s.
Yeah, so on
things
this
have relaxed a lot.
so
yes, we had to
on this
go through the
particular trip.
borders, yes.
So every time you got to a border station, you had to...
Get your passport ready.
Okay, did they search the coaches or do anything like that?
No, I don't think so. They
it's
just wanted to look at all the paperwork with the bus drivers and whatever. And so we ploughed on through the night. Then we did stop somewhere else, don't ask me where, but to have breakfast. We did have a bit longer to have breakfast. And then off we charged again. And then, of course, the sun was coming up, so you could see different views and different...
Does the topography of the land by that time, was it noticeably different?
Oh, especially when you went through Austria and then into Slovenia and carrying on there.
So what are you seeing now? You've come out of the darkness and suddenly have you got great forests in front of you, mountains?
Oh yes, lots of forests, mountains and all sorts of things, and sometimes you could glimpse the sea in the background, but you didn't know where you were going really, because I'd never been there before.
This is quite an adventurous trip for a lady by herself.
Yes. So you learn as you go on what you should take with you, and what you should. I always recommend that you take a reasonable amount of toilet paper with you and small change. Well, that's handy, and some wet wipes and things.
So were you nervous before you left on this trip?
Well, it was a
mixture of excitement as well as...
Well, it's going into the unknown, isn't it?
I was going to say.
Yes, it was going into the unknown, and different countries where you couldn't speak the lingo. I always recommend, if you're going to go anywhere, try and get a book on that country. Learn, please, thank you, toilets.
You are very focused on the toilets. That is very important thing.
You may have to walk for a quarter of an hour, or you may be quite near a hotel or somewhere. On the other hand, you may not, but you want to know. You can't read the signs.
I suppose, even if you're out shopping in the UK on a Saturday afternoon, you don't think about it. You think, I need the toilet. You go into the supermarket, or if you're in town centre, they'll have toilets. So that's probably a high on. No wonder that's high on the list of a traveller. Where are the toilets?
Yes, well, this is it.
So you got please, thank you. Where are the loos?
Yes. And if you can find a book that tells you what the food is, then you can sort of run through it to yourself.
So did that mean you did some considerable research before you went?
As much as I could. I always do.
Right.
As long as I can take myself to the toilet, say please and thank you, and feed myself.
Okay, so would you recommend? I mean, obviously nowadays everybody carries. Well, most people have a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Access
Well,
to the
they didn't
internet.
have mobile
No, they
phones
didn't.
then.
So it was going to lead me to say, did you always choose to take, say, a little travel book or something with you? Did you find that helpful?
It is helpful. Yes, it might give you a few words of the country you're going to or whatever.
So we've now zoomed our way across the continent, across Europe.
Yeah, and we've gone.
Have we almost got to Yugoslavia?
Well, yeah, we go through Slovenia, and the sun's up, and you can see things. And we're going through the mountains, and we have to get to where. I'm not sure if it was Rijeka, which is where the shipbuilding place, the big place was.
So is this a coastal town?
Yeah, we have to. Yes, it's a coastal town. We had to get a ferry.
Right. So where was your final destination then?
The island of Kirk.
The island of Kirk, right.
Where the capital of Kirk is Kirk as well.
Okay.
And then we set, and so we got on the ferry, and we actually saw dolphins swimming while we were going over there.
So you were on the deck of the ship, were you?
Yeah, it wasn't a very big ferry, but we were in the coach mostly, and we went over there, and we arrived in the late afternoon, and we stopped at this hotel, and don't get off here now, Mrs. Holland. You've got to go to a different hotel.
Okay.
I was the only one in this other
Right.
hotel.
So not only now have you found yourself for your first trip
on a different island, in a different country, in a
a
different hotel
By
to
yourself?
everybody else.
by yourself?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was a nice hotel.
So you had no idea that was going to be the case?
No idea at all. So anyway, it turned out to be quite a nice hotel. And at night time, they were singing patriotic songs, and I believe there were a couple of tanks on the island as well.
A couple of times. Well, as I say, it was literally just
Well,
before the
so
war
you
broke
were.
out.
I was allowed to go. It was at your own risk.
Okay.
But, no, when we arrived and drove to the hotel, there were lots of wildflowers, wild peonies and all sorts all growing around. There were really wonderful looking flowers and things. It looked really pretty, and I enjoyed that. There wasn't an awful choice of food.
Okay.
In fact, at one time during the week, somebody came running into the hotel and said, "They've got spinach in the village." And I think they went
It was
mad.
a mad rush to the village market.
We had spinach for dinner at night.
Okay, so you've arrived at your hotel, and so I'm getting the feeling here, I'm getting the vibe that you didn't have a huge choice when it came to cuisine.
No.
But the food was good.
The food was good. The waitresses didn't smile. And I said, they're not very happy. They have to take their job seriously. They're not supposed to laugh and smile, which is what they do nowadays, because they were pleased to have a job.
Right.
So they had to keep a straight face and not smile. But everybody was very nice, and the room was very nice. And
so you've settled into your hotel.
I've settled in. We've had breakfast, and
then what? Did you stay on the island, or were there other things?
Well, they did take us out during the week to different places, but and I went down to where the boats were. I think one evening, and the fishermen there. One of them was talking English. He said, "I have to know 10 languages for all the visitors that come and want to go out on boats and things."
Mm-hmm.
So that was very interesting. And the next day, we were going to go on a trip to the mainland in the afternoon. So I thought, I think I'll just walk down to the sea and perhaps have a paddle.
Okay.
Well,
so how far was the hotel from the sea?
not very far, because it's an island. As it so happened, I decided not to paddle, which was a good idea. I was going to. And while I'm sort of wandering along there, this man appeared.
Oh.
Yes. "Hello," he said. And I said, "Hello," and I thought, I'll just ignore him. And he kept following me. "I walk with you."
Oh, yes.
I didn't particularly want him walking with me. We were getting nearer to the hotel when he says, "I want kiss."
He said, what?
I want kiss.
Oh, dear.
And I'm thinking there's nobody else about. Could be a dodgy
It
situation.
certainly sounds like it.
But luckily I still had my shoes on.
Right.
And I could see the gateway to the hotel coming, and all of a sudden I just ran for it.
So you really did leg it.
I legged it yes, my arthritis wasn't that bad. Got inside the door, found the manager, shouted, "There's a man there, wants to kiss me, won't leave me alone."
Oh, crikey.
He's got two waiters, quite burly people. I don't know what he said, but anyway, they came back. He sat me down and gave me a coffee and said, and they came back a bit later and he said, "No need to worry, he won't bother you anymore."
Right, they chased him off.
I have no idea what they did with him.
Right, so you don't know if
I don't
you
know.
won't see him anymore, as in they chased him off, or you won't see him anymore because of.
He could have done anything. But he said, "Stay in the garden because you're going on a trip this afternoon."
Me. So how this is right at the beginning of your trip.
Yes. So it was a little bit frightening.
But at least you have the forethought to.
Yes. Well, I thought, we'll sort of not be aggressive, but we'll keep walking towards the hotel. And as soon as I could see the gateway, I ran. And I'm not sure if I screamed. I might have done as well. But I don't know if he was dispatched, or was warned.
Oh, dear.
But anyway,
and how did you feel after that experience?
Well, a little bit shaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, no, I don't wish to go anywhere really on my own
After that.
But the manager sent somebody off, and I was quite safe. But it was quite worrying.
And were you about to say that you were going on a trip?
Yes, we went on a trip in the afternoon.
In the afternoon,
yes.
The same day.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And we had two ladies with us.
Did you have to report this to your? I mean, did you have a travel?
We didn't see the drivers until they came back.
Oh, so your coach drivers. I'm trying to think of the name of it. When you're on holiday, you normally have a
courier.
Courier, that's it.
No, we didn't. We had these two drivers.
Just the two drivers.
Yes, but they
weren't staying in your.
They were staying at the other hotel. Yeah, but anyway, we got on another little ferry, and we went off onto the mainland, and I think we were going around to Pula or somewhere. It could have been, but there was some on the parade, along by the sea, quite a lot of little stalls. And everybody was begging you to buy these things. I bought some little things to go in the kitchen, and they would take any currency you'd got at all. It didn't even matter if it was a mixture.
Right.
They just wanted some money so they could get away.
Oh, right. So they were just literally trying to get out.
Oh, definitely. They wanted as much, so what they could, and make for the hills, I suppose, because not many people come in because of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And these two ladies said, "Now don't, just stick as a group. Don't go wandering off anywhere."
Yep.
So, yes, we did that, and we went to several other places, and it was quite interesting. And as I say, I saw dolphins and things in the garden, and then
in the garden, or from the garden.
From the boat. Beg your pardon.
That's good.
Yeah. So that was nice. I saw dolphins there and back again, and. Anyway, we went home, and it was a pleasant evening. I think they played folk music and did things.
Mm-hmm.
But I say, nobody else was there to speak English to, except the waitress or somebody like that.
So did you find it somewhat lonely of an evening in the hotel?
Well, I'm used to being by myself, so there's no problems whatsoever. I did ask them where I could find the snakes and the little lizards and things, because one of my granddaughters wanted pictures if I could get them for biology at school. We don't go looking for snakes, but they said they are round in the lane, so I didn't go far. But when it was quite hot one morning, of course I got the old-fashioned camera that went click, and you could see
35mm, yeah.
Well, whatever,
yeah.
And you could see going down the lanes, big stones by the side of the road or the path, with these black snakes on.
Oh, what, they're just sunning
themselves. Unfortunately, every time you tried to click the camera, they shot off. But I did get a couple of pictures. But trying to chase the lizards, I eventually looked out my bedroom window, and on the yellow post box, one was sunning itself, so I did get a picture there. But I wasn't recommended to go round the lanes looking for snakes.
So your snake and your basically reptile wrangling didn't go as
No,
well as
but
you
I
hoped.
did get the pictures.
You did get some.
I did get the
You
pictures.
did get some.
of
So okay. So we've started there. We've had a trip out.
Yes.
People are obviously trying to find the funds, raise funds to get themselves out of Yugoslavia at that time. And what happened after that?
Oh, well, we had another trip. They brought the other people from the other hotel. We were going to go and look at I think there's a little ruined castle and some other bits and pieces on Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd read up about it. And I was talking to one of the drivers, and I heard the other driver. So I said, he's talking rubbish to them.
Oh, what?
One driver to the other, yeah.
So what, giving the over the tannoy type of thing? Or?
No, he was walking with them. But,
Oh, right. So you're out on a trip.
yeah, we stopped at these ruins.
And he's giving all the historic information about it.
Yeah, and I said, that's all rubbish. He said, how do you know? I said, I've been reading the book. He said, they'll never come back again, so we'll never know the difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I don't know. I can't remember the firm. It was not a firm I'd ever been with before.
That's terrible. So, I mean, so the drivers are basically making up
Yeah, they're making...
whatever they fancied
Yeah.
to entertain themselves, probably more than anything.
Well, yeah. But I thought, I've got it all in my little book there, and I did buy this replica of some of the words that, they'd found and different things. But I was quite shocked to find... He said, well, they'll never come back again.
They'll never come back.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
So, but, the biggest trip we had before the end of the week, because we had to really...
Actually, that's a good point. How long was this trip to?
I think it was 10 days.
10-day trip, okay.
Yeah, but we had the chance of going to see the Potsdana caves, which are in Slovenia.
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
Yes. They have a little train that goes round in there. They're very, very long caves
Very
with little
big,
lights and
so
things.
it's a big cave system.
Oh, yes, a very big cave system. And then coming back, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but the dancing horses, the white Lipizzanas, that are, they're mostly in Vienna.
Okay, so I'm just going to hop back. I'm very interested about the caves.
Yes.
Okay, so you took a trip to the caves. And what are these caves like, if anybody was
They're huge.
interested? They're huge.
The Germans at one point had tried to blow them up. You could see the scars.
Is this from World War II?
Yes.
Right.
But they hadn't succeeded.
I've heard stories before where you have the stalagmites and stalactites. Basically, what do they say? Mites go up, tights go down.
Yes.
Where they used to shoot the
I think they were shooting or they
and
exploded.
knocking them off.
But it's a little electric train, and it goes quite a few miles, I think, inside. And there are some little strange creatures that live there. They're sort of lizardy things, don't actually. They're blind and they're white, but they keep some in a little pond and they change them every so often. And
Are these specific to the caves?
Yes, they don't live anywhere else. We saw them.
How fascinating.
But yeah, it's quite a long trip all the way round and seeing all these, some of the best caves I've ever seen. And it was really, really good.
Also, there's I've been to cave systems in the UK, excuse me, and abroad. But how would you? Are they kind of magical? Would you say?
Yes, I think so. Because I think there was a little child there saying, "Look, oh," I said, "That's where the fairies live," and she quite believed me. They got some little.
You're
sparkling...
doing what the coach drivers are doing now.
Yeah, I said, "Yes, the fairies live there." It was really, really magical. It was really nice.
So you'd recommend the what they called again?
Where are we?
The
Potsdana.
Potsdana
We're in there
caves.
in Slovenia. Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, you've got to leave very early in the morning. Must not forget your passport because you have to go over the border into Slovenia.
Would that apply today? Do you think?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, it would, wouldn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. And then we managed to pick up a bit of something or other to eat in a cafe, and then we were sent off to Lipica, which is in Slovenia, where the stud is, and the ponies.
This is now
for the horses.
We're moving on to the.
We're on our way back again.
Okay,
to
after the cave trip.
Yes.
Or is this a separate day?
No, it's the same. It's a very long day.
This is for the Lipsiana.
Lipica.
Lipica.
Yes, they're the Viennese dancing horses.
Right.
Yes. And that's where they put on performances and things in Vienna.
Because they're quite world famous, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
They're white horses, aren't they?
Not when they're born. They could be black or brown or spotty. As they get older, they go white. And they actually put on, we've sat in a theatre, and they put on a performance of the dancing horses, which was lovely.
So I'm just looking this up on my tablet, and it says that the Dancing Horses of Vienna, they train and perform at Vienna's Spanish Riding School, the only school in the world to practice classical riding for over 450 years.
Yes.
So they must have a huge lineage then.
Yes. Well, that is where the stud is. Where
In Slovenia?
Yes.
Okay.
In a place called Lipica.
Lipica.
So that's why they're known as the Lipizzaner horses.
Right.
And we managed to go round the stables and see all the little foals, and then we had the performance. But it was a very, very long day, and I think it was a couple of days before we came home, because it's such a long journey back overnight to come back home again.
So you saw the horses and then headed back to your hotel?
Yes.
Okay, and was this basically towards the end of the trip?
Well, it was a couple of days before the end, because you couldn't do an all-day long trip like that and then get up in the morning and do an all-day and overnight trip.
So spending the 10 days there...
and I hadn't finished. On the last day, they came to pick me up, and I'd had a very nice time. I really enjoyed it. It was seeing things I'd never seen before. Anyway, I gave my the case to the coach drivers, got on, and of course you could sit where you like. Oh, you shouldn't sit there, that's so-and-so's seat.
So-and-so?
I can't remember what his name was. I said, well, where is he? He dived into the swimming pool, had a heart attack and died.
Oh, dear.
I said, well, he won't really need this seat then now. I think they flew his body back.
Oh.
Yes, but otherwise we had an uneventful ride back home again.
Did you feel that there was, obviously the 10 days you were there, did you feel the tensions? Because this was right
oh, yes, I would say that they were
something.
singing sort of warlike songs of a night time after I'd gone to bed, and there were tanks about, and we were warned to all stick together when we did go over onto the mainland, not wander off just in case. And it was an experience.
It was, I would imagine it must have been, especially for a single lady travelling.
Well, it was, yes.
And so then you finished your holiday, your first ever holiday to Yugoslavia, and then it was the travel back.
We had to travel back again, yes.
And
with no thunder and lightning.
No thunder and lightning. Yeah. So overall, how did you rate that particular trip?
Well, it was definitely an experience, and I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, that's great.
I have been back several times since, but and I did go back to the island of Kirk, and they'd mowed all the wildflowers down, cut all the trees back to be tidy for the visitors.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
So where it was very wild when you originally
and
went
all
there.
the lovely flowers and everything. There wasn't a flower to be seen until you sort of went right out.
They kind of sterilised it for the tourists.
Yes.
Oh, no.
It was such a disappointment.
Oh, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
Overall, you had a fabulous first trip off to Yugoslavia.
Well, it was definitely an adventure.
So did you find this from that point inspired you to say, well, that was such an experience that I want to do all the other subsequent adventures that you went on? So this was like the first steps, if you like.
It was the first steps, because you didn't know. I
Nothing,
probably never even heard of Yugoslavia.
So nothing put you off at that point.
No, I don't recommend sort of walking along with people who actually want to kiss you or might be going to strangle you.
I mean, that's probably a very good bit of advice.
That was not a good idea.
Okay.
Yes. And keeping my shoes on was definitely a good thing, because I don't think I could run on the paths without.
And of course, Yugoslavia is no longer Yugoslavia. No. But as I say, you've travelled back to the region.
I've been to several other places in Yugoslavia, but my favourite is in Porridge.
Yeah,
and
which is Croatia.
Where I took you to.
Yeah, we did go. I did accompany you on one trip.
Yes, to the Crystal
hotel.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
where they throw their arms around me and say, "Hello, madame, you are back again."
well, I would
And
have
who
thought
is this? And I say, "It is my baby son."
it's my mad, great big lump of a son.
Yeah.
I would have thought that after 18 trips, did you say?
Yes.
18
well,
trips.
I have
Yeah.
been down as far as Dubrovnik, where they were shelling, and you could see all the bullet marks and everything, and one or two other places.
Okay.
I did have another interesting stop. I stopped with another firm.
Is this on a different holiday?
On a different holiday,
Different
but still to Croatia, with a firm that old people usually go with. I can't mention.
I like the way that you say old people.
Well,
I mean,
there were some there in their 90s.
Okay, because if I may, this week.
Well, I was 86.
You were
this week.
86 this week.
Yes.
But you still don't consider yourself to be an old person.
Well, not as old as some of the people I've been on holiday with. Yes. But with this particular firm, we arrived and they said, "No, we're all dining downstairs. It's a new lift." Well, we got down and we did dine and whatever. I didn't like the courier very much. She said we couldn't go on some of the trips because she said she didn't think we could go on them and various other. But we got into this lift the next day, 5 of us. And it's a glass lift.
Uh-huh.
And the door's closed, and it will only go from one level down to where we're going to eat, in the dining room. And then it went back up again, and then it went down again.
It wouldn't let you out.
It wouldn't let us out, and this woman started screaming, "We're going to die, we're going to die. We're like goldfishes in a bowl," and it's just going up and down. And then when we get to the bottom, said, "Oh, stay there." I said, if I could get out, I wouldn't be staying here. They had to send to another town to get an engineer to stop us
Meanwhile,
going,
you're going
up and down, up and down. And then we did get into there eventually, and they opened it about 6 inches and said, "Stay there." I said, "We're not thin enough to get out," but we did eventually get out. And then people down there said, "There's no bread on the bread station."
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, where is the bread? The Germans have got it over there on their section.
Oh, no. So,
Oh.
did you have to have a committee meeting?
No. I'm in charge. I went to the kitchens. I said, "Unfortunately, there is no bread this morning." "There is plenty of bread, madame." I said, "Come and show me." So they came out. I said, "There's bread over there, but none where we..." So
Are you trying to tell me that the Germans stole all the bread?
they stole all the bread. So I wasn't going to say the Germans had taken the bread. I just pointed out to them.
To the other tourists in their own party.
Yes. So we got some more bread, and I think they got reprimanded. And then the food was nearly all tepid.
Oh, no.
Having been a cook for years and having to serve hot food, they got somebody in to look after it and make it hotter. And they said, "Oh, now it's all right now." I said, "But they haven't switched on the ovens. They haven't plugged in the soup." And they said, "Oh, it's all right now." I said, "Well, give me a bowl." And I put my finger in it, and the man who'd been looking after it said, "You're not supposed to do that." I said, "If I can put my finger in it, it's not hot enough."
Oh, dear.
So I said, if they actually plugged it in,
Right.
we might have hotter food. And I have never been with that firm again.
You didn't go back on that trip.
No.
But subsequently you have had some wonderful trips.
I like the crystal in porridge.
Okay,
yes.
we're going to revisit Croatia in future episodes.
We may do.
And find out other tales you have about Croatia and the different trips you've been on to other places in the region.
Bolivia and Venezuela were good.
Oh, well, we'll get to Peru, Bolivia and Venezuela.
Possibly China. And
yeah, we're going to come to all those.
New Zealand and Canada.
Yeah, we're going to come to all those. You've got so many adventures you can tell us about, but we just wanted to start with your first.
With the basic
with
one.
your first adventure.
It was definitely basic, and at least we had spinach one night.
Spinach one night.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you managed to dodge a very dodgy person.
Yes. I still don't.
And you saw dolphins.
I saw dolphins twice.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you very much, June, for giving us this very insightful trip to Yugoslavia.
Well,
as
it's brought back
was.
lots of memories, yes.
That's what we're hoping, and we're hoping you're going to bring back lots of more of your memories for your trips around the globe, as well as we take a trip through your adventures.
Through memory lane.
Yeah. Well, thank you for a fascinating journey to Yugoslavia. So, finally, how would you rate it? Would you recommend? I know it's not Yugoslavia anymore, and I know that we're going to come back to revisit the region in future episodes, but how would you recommend it to anybody?
It was fascinating, really. I mean, I'd never really even heard of Yugoslavia, and it was so pretty when I first got there, and several interesting things happened to me, I must admit. But I would recommend Croatia highly.
Okay. Superb, superb.
Yes.
Well, let's thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of Indiana June's World of Adventures. Please tune back in for the next episode. In the meantime, if you'd be so kind as to like and subscribe to the channel, that would be most appreciated. And it's a big goodbye from Buzz.
And a goodbye from June.
Goodbye.
Bye.